Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, good morning, everybody. This is Lori Smith, and I'm glad to be here. Just waking up. It's Tuesday, August 9th, and 6:30 in the morning here in Calgary, Alberta. I'm just having a coffee, waking up here. This is one child abuse survivor to another restoration, and I hope you're having a good morning so far. And I just actually got up just a little bit ago, so I haven't had time to really do anything here this morning. Just sort of get awake here so I can talk here. But yeah, we're just looking at information that might help us along our journey here. And if you're a survivor of abuse, you want to make sure that you're safe enough. Really do a safety checklist. Make sure that you're safe enough to be listening to any of my shows before you actually listen to them, because the topics of abuse and somebody else's story and these types of things can actually trigger people. So, if you're a survivor, you want to make sure that you're far enough along in your healing journey that that's not going to trigger you and send you backward in your healing journey. And so, you want to be safe. And so I ask that everybody do that if you're a survivor of abuse. And, I'm not a counselor or therapist, really. I'm on a healing journey, right? So I'm just sharing it with people here on Blog Talk Radio, because I know there's so many survivors really around the world, so many millions of us, sadly enough, at any given time. Millions, if not billions, that, really don't necessarily have anybody to talk to or have any validation. And so that's why I'm doing this show, and it helps me, it keeps me accountable for my own healing journey. It actually makes me actually do the work otherwise, weeks will go by and I won't really concentrate on my healing journey work that I really need to do. And so that's why I used to do these shows, a couple of years ago, and had, made a lot of progress in my healing journey. And then I sort of just dropped the ball on it, just didn't continue on. So that's why I'm doing this show. So thanks everybody for being here. We're going to look at a sort of a morning reflection here. How am I doing this morning? How am I feeling? Any particular thing that I need to work on? I feel pretty good this morning, actually. I didn't really get a very long sleep last night, but that's all right, because I was talking to a good friend of mine, my sister advocate. So, and we had a lot of things to discuss. So we don't have a lot of time to talk. So that was all right. But I'm a little bit sleepy. But other than that, I feel really pretty good today. Emotionally, feeling pretty good. Just the week's rolling on here, and I'm working on my healing journey. I found that breathing beginner kind of yoga breathing website, which is not just breathing. It's a yoga website. So I'll give you that information. And that is, I had seen it years ago, and then actually was doing some of the work in there and doing some beginning yoga, beginning breathing and whatnot. And then I just sort of lost interest. I actually just put it off. It's so convenient to do that. And so I found that site again. It's called doyogawithme.com. So it's www, and it's www. All one word, doyogawithme.com. And they have like a lot of beginner yoga type information on there, as well as meditations and yoga breathing, beginning breathing, and that's good for beginners like me. And so I need to start from the very beginning, because I'm really out of shape. I need to just start stretching and, allowing myself to sort of stretch and move my body that way. So I'm going to be concentrating on that for the rest of the week, sort of try to squeeze some of that in there and make time for it, because, this is the thing. It's just so easy to put it off. And so that's that website. So we'll look at, as far as morning reflection, and we'll look at Havoka's victim to survivor to thriver thing. I really think that's interesting to look at. Yesterday we looked at it, and the victim is, feels alone, or is possibly quite alone. The survivor is seeking help, and the thriver is in a state of like oneness, right? And today's is the victim feels selfish. The survivor deserves to seek help. That's what they believe. And then the thriver is proud of healthy self-caring. So, so they have there's a whole list of these here. That's from Havoka, and that's havoka.org, I believe. Let's see. That's where that comes from. It's help for adult victims of child abuse. Havoka, Havoca, and it's havoka.org. It's a great website. I wish everybody would go and check that out. It's actually really good. And if you haven't, I was on there years ago, and just didn't look around very carefully to realize that there was a lot of information on there that is very helpful. And It's Havoca.org. So victim feels selfish, possibly survivor they believe that they deserve to seek help, so that's what the survivor mode might be. The thriver mode, proud of healthy self-caring. Feel selfish. I don't know. Some people might feel selfish. I never really felt selfish. I was actually made to feel selfish. Like that's what a lot of people have made me feel through the years, because I was abused as a child, and then would tell them my story, and then they'd be like, oh, it almost made me feel selfish by it, because I would even mention the fact that I was abused if they would, because they might be talking about something in their past, right? And then they'd be like, well, almost like, can't you just get over it? You're just bothering people with your past and your pain. And it's like, so it might make people feel selfish a little bit that in this victim mode. I never really did, because what was done to me wasn't my fault. And so I guess if we took the blame on, if we ever took the blame on as far as the abuse went, which I know a lot of people do, I was actually blamed. I mean, my parents actually did put the blame on me, but I didn't take it because I knew that my parents were brought up on abuse charges with my brothers, right? And so the abuse that they inflicted on all of the siblings, I knew that was not my fault. I was just being abused like the rest of the siblings. So I didn't take the blame on, and I think that's kind of helped me a lot to see the truth and the reality of the abuse and the psychological damage done. I didn't take the blame on, but a lot of survivors of abuse actually do, and that's. I think it's just it's situation to situation. Everybody's situation is different. Obviously, we have things in common, but yet, all of our situations would be different, because we've all lived our own unique life, right? So we've all experienced our own unique pain, you know what I mean, which is really horrific. The survivor says they deserves to seek help. And I'm in the survivor mode, definitely. I'm like, we all deserve to seek help, and, we should be allowed to get the help that we need. And we should be, if we want to reach out and get help, then we should be able to receive that help. And that's me right now. The thriver is proud of healthy self-caring. I'm probably more towards the thriver on this right now, because, I'm just really quite a way through my healing journey, and I'm just really thankful that, for all the help that I've received along the way from a lot of people and a lot of survivors as well. And so I've got probably more towards the thriver on that, proud of healthy self-caring. I'm actually just know that I need to work on it a little bit more in certain areas, and that's why I'm doing this show. So that's interesting. I like to look at those. And we were looking at the Havoca trust information yesterday, where I was talking about that inner abuser, the one that says, don't trust anyone. And they said, that we might have thought, because when we were abused, that we can't trust anyone, but it was just actually that the trust was broken. That trust bond was broken between whoever abused us, right? So it's just the abuser that we can't trust. And I was talking about that yesterday quite extensive, that, you have to be careful who you trust. You can't trust everybody just because they're not an abuser. There are really hurtful, horrible people out there. We can't just go trusting everybody. We have to have boundaries set. Boundary work is really important. And so they said, trust is the cornerstone of any close or intimate relationship. Without it, there can be no real communication, no safety in being yourself. Lack of trust accounts for the majority of the problems that couples experience. And more importantly, it is the reason why so many couples are unable to solve their disagreements and subsequently break up. Well, that's a huge, that's actually very true, actually. I've seen that in lots of people. And my parents, that was a lot of their issue. That's why there was a lot of domestic violence and whatnot, because my dad was accusing my mother of sleeping around before they were even married. And I mean, this was back, they were married in like 1943. In a small rural area in Nova Scotia, way back in the old days there, in a very rural, backwoods kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, but very uneducated area. People are still in the dark ages back there. And, my mom might have actually been dating someone, but she wasn't married or even engaged to her future husband, which would be my dad. But he was accusing her of being unfaithful to him even before they were married. And then when they got married, he just abused my mother horrifically and continued that on, and trust is a huge issue. And I know that because of the way that I grew up in the dysfunction and the domestic violence between my parents, really, which went on until their deathbed, really. Until my mom died, right? I saw that in so many people, even in my two sisters who were married, their relationships with their husbands, friends of mine, relationships with their, whether it was their common law boyfriends or husbands or whoever. And so when I started developing this relationship with my husband, who is now my husband, we've been together 20 years, I thought, I don't want to live like that. I'm not going to be with somebody I can't trust. If I don't trust this guy and he doesn't trust me, we don't need to be together, because we need to be here for each other 100%. And I can't. If you can't trust somebody, well, how can you be in a relationship with them? They're so absolutely correct here what they're saying, that so many people just can't. It doesn't work when the other person doesn't trust. So I did have to learn how to trust him, and I did a whole lot of talking about that on a video series that I did for my Born in Hell website, looking at the ages of like 29, 30. I mean, I went it's like in a sequence of my life, there, and was talking about the fact that I had a hard time learning how to trust my husband, who is now my husband, when we first got together, because I was abused, and it was horrible. And I mean, I left him for a year, broke the relationship off because I panicked and ran. And, this sort of thing can really be a real problem. I know when I started working on my healing journey, I actually started working on boundary work, and it was so important to do that. We have to know what we're going to tolerate, and we have to know what we want, how we want people to treat us. And then again, we have to treat people with the same kind of respect or treatment, or some sort of whatever we feel that we value. We need to treat people that way, right? It says if you don't trust your inner radar, that is your thoughts, feelings, and needs, you're likely to get yourself into situations that are unhealthy or even dangerous. So that's why a lot of people, end up being re-victimized, and that's what I was talking about yesterday. It's really important for survivors of abuse, to get help and not be re-victimized, right? Because it is very easy to be re-victimized, because we're not quite well enough aware of ourselves and our needs and what we're going to allow, what we're not going to allow, boundary work and whatnot. I did a lot of boundary work, and so it's very important to get that to learn about ourselves and what our needs are. So I would just say that's really important. Tomorrow we'll look at the rest of this article, Learning to Trust Yourself, and you can find it. It's on Havoca, www.havoca.org /survivors/trust, and that's where the information will be. And so it's really a good article, good info. It's very short and brief. It's not very long and lengthy, but it's good info, I think, good for people to take a look at. And so we'll move on from there. Positive reinforcement. What am I doing right in my daily walk? Or you could say, what are we doing right? What am I doing right in my daily walk that's looking at the positive instead of the negative? Well, I'm actually making progress. I found the website with the breathing information that I was really looking into doing, because it's meditative yoga type breathing, which is healthy. I need to do that. And they have these free. It's free, this website, this Do Yoga With Me. You can actually subscribe and help to support them if you wanted to, and pay for the product, or they'll let you just watch it for free, and or you can buy it like on CD or DVD. And there's 3 ways you can do it, but they'll let people watch their stuff for free, which is really cool. And especially for people that don't have a lot of money. And it's really a cool website, and they got some really great information for beginners there, and so that's why I'm all happy about it. And it's free. So I was happy that I found that website again, and I'm getting started. Actually, I was looking at it last night, but I ran out of time, so I'll be doing that for the rest of the week. I'm going to try to spend 15 minutes a day doing the beginning breathing stuff, just because I got to work it in somewhere. I have to work it in somewhere, and like most of us, we're all busy, right? So I'm happy that I'm actually doing something in the right direction, right? Going in the right direction, which is, just to keep going. And I can look at positive affirmation sort of for myself, to reaffirm. Today I will rejoice in my abilities. Today I will rejoice in my abilities. Yesterday we talked about I am loved. Today I will rejoice in my abilities. Yeah, I think we should really look at what we can do instead of what we can't do. Rejoice in my abilities. What can I do? And the things that I can do, I should be happy about, and continue to do, and not worry about what I can't do. Right? So many times I think we focus on the negative and focus on what we can't do, which then saps all of our creative energy and the creative I guess, workflow that could go towards what we actually can do is sapped because we're sitting around going, oh, I can't do that. I wish I could do that. I mean, everybody has probably things that they wish they could do, and or things that they would love to do, and they will never be able to do. And so, we need to actually rejoice in what we can do, right? And I think that's really important. I mean, just for instance, for myself, I will never have children. I was made barren at the age of 8 by child sexual abuse, and I mean, I could sit there, and I do, and I have spent years very unhappy about the fact that I will never have children, and trying to adopt for myself, it's just not going to work. My husband's terminally ill. Children need a stable home, you know what I mean? I can't even do foster work at this point, you know what I mean? There's foster care. There's just no way. So, I instead of just focusing on that and saying, oh, I can't have children, I'll never, which I did do a lot of that, a lot of self-pity, a lot of, really unhappiness about that situation. I can rejoice in what I can do, and I can still help people. I'm still a useful person on the planet. I can help myself. I can try to help others get through the day. And there's just things that I will never be able to do. But that's the way, that's life. We can't, not everybody can do everything. You know what I mean? We sometimes don't get to do the things that we really want to do. And that's unfortunate. But that's life. So I got to work on what I can do. And so, I find a lot of things in life that I enjoy doing, and it mostly involves not-for-profit work with what I'm doing with my sister advocates and just helping my husband. That makes me happy to be able to be here for him, to help him out. There's lots of things that I can do. I need to focus on my abilities, not what I can't do, right? So I think that's important. And self-care, what am I doing for self-care? Like physically, spiritually, emotionally. Physically, I'm working on that yoga thing with the breathing. That's really important. Working on taking care of my body better. That's what I need to do. Spiritually, I'm in a pretty good sound state there. Spiritually, I'm in good shape. Emotionally, I'm still, in pretty good shape emotionally. Right now, I seem to be handling things quite well, even though I'm really kind of overtaxed with time, and there's only so much time in the day, and I'm really busy. But emotionally, it's not wearing me down too bad. I actually feel pretty good, pretty healthy. But I just want to do some self-care as far as what can I do to sort of help myself, the things that I forget to do for myself, right? And Irving Studios has some awesome information, like I was talking about yesterday, on Child Abuse Survivor Monument. And there's a soothing deed section, and he's talking about the next portion of it is keeping busy, healthy distractions. So, what can we do for self-care? These are just some suggestions on his website. And he says we could mend clothes, which, some people like to sew, and that'd be a healthy thing for them to do. Rearrange our furniture, decorate a room, right? Change things around, rearrange furniture, sort of, it's like recreating your space, That's always kind of nice when you have time to do that. I like to do that. Right now I'm in a very small place, which there's no room to put anything anywhere, so I don't move anything. But, for a lot of people, that's a fun thing to do. Time out, put thoughts and feelings to the back of your mind. Take a time out. Sometimes that's very important, especially when we're concentrating and doing a lot of work as far as our healing journey goes. For if we're having a lot of kind of flashbacks or things like that, and then we're trying to work through them or whatever, sometimes it is a good idea to take a time out, and put thoughts and feelings to the back of our mind. That's why I want to learn and actually really use meditation, because I know survivors of abuse who use meditation, and they use it. It really has helped them in their healing journey, and I think that's important. That's something that I don't do, and so that's really kind of would be my time out, would be to breathe and to meditate and to relax my whole body, relax my mind. I think that's very important. I don't do that at all until I drop asleep, from my day. I just run, I go to bed, and I have to hurry and sleep because I've only got so much time for that. So it's like I really make no time to even breathe or relax, really. So it's really puts a lot of stress on my body. My body's really already under a lot of stress, and so that's why I thought I really have to start. I got to start taking care of myself. That's why I'm doing these shows. Create containment and set it aside for now. So if we're having, let's say we're having flashbacks, we're having, some sort of situation where, not necessarily a panic attack, but let's say we've got some thoughts that are rolling around that are very disruptive, from the abuse and whatnot. we can create a container, like containment for them, and set that stuff aside for now. So this is what they're talking about. Distract ourselves, keep busy, right? Count to 10. I did a lot of counting work, and I still do, just because I'm triggered quite a bit. Just certain things trigger me. And so I count in these places that trigger me. I actually do a lot of counting work. I've been doing that since I was a little kid. And I just do it automatically. I don't even think about it, but it works for me. So whatever works for a person, right? Use breath work, breathing. I really want to get into that because I seriously need to quit smoking. Start breathing properly. Make and put a joy list up. You know, we could make our joy list and put whatever brings us joy, whatever means joy to us. We can make that. Play with a small child. If you have children, if you have children in your family somewhere. Watch a sunset. That's always nice. Go someplace you enjoy. Go somewhere with a friend. Go to a place with a fountain, waterfall, beach, a stream, a lake, or nature trail. Just get out and spend some time. A friend of mine always reminds me to do that because she knows how busy I am, and she's always telling me, you need to go and just sit at the park and take your book or whatever you're doing. Just relax. Go sit at the park for, half an hour, once in a while, and just be, And it's so true. I never do that anymore. I think I used to do more of that when I was younger and had more time. And now I've made everything just squeezed into this period of time. I don't make any time for that kind of stuff anymore. So it's really important. So those are just some ideas from Irving Studios' Child Abuse Survivor Monument website under self-care. And Hoboken Survivor Bill of Rights. Let's look at that. Yesterday's was to seek help from a variety of sources, unhindered by demands for exclusivity. I like that one. And then the next one up is to decline help from anyone without having to justify the decision. That's right, because we have the right to decline help from anyone without having to justify the decision. You don't have to have it. We have to know what's going to be good for us in our healing journey. We have to know what's going to help us out along the way. And if you don't feel comfortable with some sort of help from someone, then you have the right to decline it without having to justify that decision. You absolutely do, because something just may not seem right to you about that. Let's say we have a counselor situation where, we see this counselor or therapist, and it's just not working or it just doesn't seem right. We have the right to decline that help without even having to justify the decision. It's our decision because it's our life, and we need to take responsibility for our life and take care to make sure that we're getting the help that we need, right? So just remember that we do have rights, and that's Hoboken Survivor's Bill of Rights. And Personal Bill of Rights. I like this Personal Bill of Rights thing. This is from Charles H. Whitfield, MD, Healing the Child Within. And the next one up is, yesterday's was, let's see, where were we? I think we were on number 5. Yeah, we were on number 5. Now we're moving over to number 6. Number 6, I have a right to say no to anything when I feel I'm not ready, it is unsafe, or violates my values. You have a right to say no to anything when I feel I'm not ready, it is unsafe, or violates my values. That's right. You know why? Because survivors of abuse so often are not allowed to say no. I talked about that a lot. I actually talked about that in my videos, my Born in Hell videos that I did. I did 26 hours worth of video, which is very graphic, and for most survivors, I would suggest that you not watch it if you're going to be triggered by it, because I'm talking about the whole entire thing. And I did 26 hours of video there. It's a lot. It was a lot of work to do it, but I wanted to get it done. And so many times survivors of abuse, I did talk about this, we're not allowed to say no. I was abused sexually as a child. I was not allowed to say no. My mother knew about it. And then later on in life, that really got me, that just served to be a real problem for me as a preteen and then a really early young teen with a lot of unwanted sexual touching, because my brother was allowed to rape me. So my mother allowed it. She knew it was happening. And so I was not allowed to say no. And I was not allowed to say no to any of the abuse that was going on in my home that was afflicted towards me or anybody else. I was not allowed to stand up and open my mouth and say no. So this unwanted sexual touching was a real problem for me, because I was not allowed to say no. And so what do? I let them do it, right? This is so many times, this is a real problem for survivors of abuse. We have the right to say no to anything if I don't feel I'm ready, if I feel it's unsafe or violates my values. That's exactly right. And as an adult, do I have the right to say no? Yes, I do. And do I use the right to say no? Absolutely, I do. And you need to do the same thing. You really do. We have rights, people. and we just need to realize that we do. And as far as Havoka getting started affirmation, the one yesterday was I was born with a limitless capacity for wellness and growth. And today's is I like myself because I know my identity and uniqueness. I could say this to myself, throughout the day. I could think this and think about it. I like myself because I know my identity and uniqueness. Sometimes we might have a hard time believing that or buying into it. But I think it's just important to sort of put these positive affirmations in our life, Coming from abuse, we do need to think about some positive things about ourselves and start to believe what we can believe at the time. Most of the stuff I identify with and I agree with. Some of it I'd be like, no, I can't. I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? I'm still working on it. But I think it's really important to do positive affirmations. Coping mechanisms. We looked at. Actually, I said we'd look at that, but we're going to run out of time for that one. So I think we'll pick up the coping mechanism list for tomorrow's show. And I want to look at Irving Studios Meditation Gallery. They have on Michael C. Irving's Child Abuse Survivor Monument, he's got this really cool meditation gallery quilt square link, and it's called Meditation Gallery. And we looked at 2 of them already, but the next one up is self-soothing. And the first one we looked at was meditation to heal self-blame. And then the next one we looked at was meditation for healing feelings of shame. And now today I want to look at meditation for self-soothing. So it says, be aware of good feelings no matter how small they are. Breathe in calming energy. Let go of stress as you become more relaxed. As you think about how others care about you, allow yourself to feel self-love. So as we think about how others care about us, we could allow ourselves to love ourselves, right? And it says, allow the love of others or self-love to flow through you. And let the good feeling flow outward and wash through any stress you feel. And think about a place, activity, or time where you feel good. And if we do think about those things, it might be a good idea to write them down so we don't forget. And then next time we're having a bad day, we're having issues come up that, really difficult, we can think about that place, that activity, or that whatever makes us feel good. We have our list, and we can go through that and remember what those things were, and we'll be like, oh, yeah, that really helped me out. Be aware of where inside you have positive and comforting feelings. Be aware of where inside of you we might have positive and comforting feelings. And imagine a self-hug or a hug from someone who cares about you. That's kind of nice. I don't really do well with hugging because I don't really like people touching me. So that's been a problem for me my whole life. I really don't want people touching me, just from the physical abuse and the sexual abuse. I don't like people touching me. So a self-hug, I don't even want that. You know what I mean? I think someone used to hold, I could use, for me it would be more like somebody could hold my hand. Somebody really cares about me. I could imagine someone holding my hand. I've actually held my own hand. I talked about that on my One Child Abuse Survivor shows here years ago, that when I started my healing journey out, I would just hold my own hand. I was doing exactly what they were telling me to do on these websites, and it really made a huge difference, because, nobody else was there, but I was realizing that, I was there for myself, and that my inner wounded children, were not alone anymore, and that, I could truly, I could get in touch with them, you know what I mean? That inner part of myself that's so wounded, right? And I could be that nurturer, the person that gives that nurturing, and really I'm the only one that can do it because I know the situation, right? And so we have to, I'm really thankful to be on this side of where I'm at, compared to even like 8-9 years ago, back when I first started my healing journey, which, I'm really thankful to be on this side of it, and I just want to encourage people, if you're struggling, you're having a hard time, make sure you reach out, you get help. If you can't cope and you're having a day where it's just not happening, call the crisis line. Because I wanted to do crisis line work, but because my husband's terminally ill, they won't let me do it. They actually don't suggest it. It's too hard. So it's too hard to have terminal illness going on as well as trying to do this other stuff. So they just don't suggest it. So I'm going to follow their lead. But crisis lines, they're full of people like people that care, right? There are people that do care. Make sure you reach out and get help. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I look forward to being here again with you all tomorrow. So take good care of yourselves. Be good to yourself. I'm going to be good to myself. We need to do these things because we need to realize that we do count, we do matter, right? And we need to learn how to care for ourselves. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you soon.